Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a coin so ordinary, so dull you almost ignore it. A penny from 1976. Just a cent. Just copper. But what if I told you that this little coin, if it carries the right hidden mark, doesn't belong in your pocket at all? It belongs in an auction house. And under the right spotlight, it can trade hands for more than most people earn in a lifetime. Why? Because hidden inside America's 200-year celebration in 1976, something slipped through the cracks. A coin was minted with a secret that even the Treasury never intended. That's why collectors whisper about it today. That's why stories circulate about people who turned pocket change into generational wealth overnight. Let me take you back. The year is 1976. The nation is alive with fireworks, parades, and the smell of history burning bright. Every denomination of coin was being inspected, polished, prepared for the country's bicentennial pride. Quarters were redesigned, half dollars celebrated, the dollar wore new art. But the humble Lincoln penny carried on, unaltered, unchanged, or so the world was told. But in Denver, something extraordinary happened. Among billions of routine pennies, a handful emerged with striking anomalies. Errors, imperfections, tiny fingerprints of history that no one could have predicted. A doubled image here, a weak strike there, a mint mark placed so strangely it almost looks forged by hand. Each mistake turned an everyday coin into a one-of-a-kind relic. Now think about this. Billions of 1976 pennies were minted. They rattle in jars, roll in drawers, gather dust in basements. But fewer than 100 of these rare Denver-struck errors have ever been confirmed, which means that the next one, if it's still hiding in circulation, could be sitting inside your home right now, completely unnoticed. And here's the part most people don't realize. The reason these errors command staggering prices is because they shouldn't exist. The mint's job is perfection, uniformity, and when perfection fails, rarity is born. That rarity is what drives collectors into bidding wars. That rarity is why a single coin can suddenly ignite headlines, trading not for cents, not for dollars, but for hundreds of thousands. Picture this. A man in Ohio, cleaning out his father's coin collection after decades. He spots a 1976 penny with a D-mint mark. He nearly sells it with the rest for face value. But something about the lettering looks off. He hesitates. He sends it to a grading service. And in that moment, his life changes. That penny, once worth a cent, is valued at a sum he never dreamed possible. More than his father ever earned in a decade of work. What if you could be that person? What if your next step after this video is opening a jar in your kitchen, or sliding open the drawer where you've thrown loose change for years, and seeing not just copper, but possibility? Now let's get practical. What exactly should you look for? A 1976 Lincoln penny with the D mint mark. Look closely at the date. Are the numbers doubled, especially the 7 and the 6? Does the mint mark appear misplaced, tilted, or oddly stamped? Examine Lincoln's profile. Are there ghost-like outlines around his image, signs of doubling or weak strikes? Even the reverse side with the Lincoln Memorial can hold clues. Distorted columns, doubled lines, tiny imperfections invisible to the casual glance but worth a fortune to the trained eye. Here's the danger. Many people have owned this coin and spent it without ever realizing. Many more have sold it for pennies to dealers who spotted what they missed. That's why knowledge is everything. Because once you know the signs, you'll never look at a penny the same way again. So tonight, when the house is quiet, gather your coins. Hold them under the light. Let your eyes search for what billions of others have overlooked. Because the truth is, wealth doesn't always arrive in stock markets or lottery tickets. Sometimes it's hiding in plain sight, in the smallest pocket of your jeans. And right now, the rarest 1976 Denver minted Lincoln penny has been valued at up to $425,000. One coin, 1 cent. A life-changing discovery waiting for someone bold enough to notice. Imagine holding a single penny, worth more than your house, your car, maybe even your retirement savings. A coin so ordinary, it slips through millions of fingers every year, and yet so rare, it could rewrite your financial future in one heartbeat. And here's the catch. It doesn't even officially exist. For decades, collectors whispered about it like a ghost story. The 1975 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark. A coin that was never supposed to survive. A mistake buried by the mint. A secret erased from official records. But like every buried secret, a few escaped into the world. And the moment they did, their value became something almost mythical. Now, what if one of those coins isn't in a museum vault or a millionaire's safe? What if it's sitting right now in a dusty jar on your dresser? To understand why this penny is so extraordinary, you have to rewind to the mid-1970s. America was changing. Vietnam was ending. Gas lines stretched for blocks. Inflation was climbing higher and higher. And inside the U.S. Mint, workers were pushing machines to their limit, striking billions of coins to feed a restless economy. Mistakes were inevitable. Some were tiny, barely noticeable to the naked eye. But in 1975, something unthinkable happened. A batch of Lincoln cents rolled out of the presses without their mint marks. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just a blank where the mint's identity should have stood. To most people, it was just another penny. A slip of copper tossed into a pocket, forgotten before the day was done. But to the sharp-eyed collector, that missing mint mark was like a crack in the universe. Proof of a coin that should never have been. Proof of a treasure. Think about it. Every single coin in your pocket tells a story. Every scratch, every dent is a record of lives it's touched. But this coin tells a different story. One of secrecy, oversight, and escape. The mint corrected the error almost immediately, but not before a handful slipped into circulation. And once they did, there was no pulling them back. The first confirmed discovery shook the coin-collecting world. A man digging through change at his kitchen table suddenly realized he was staring at history. What he thought was a penny worth exactly 1 cent was suddenly worth more than his yearly salary. Now, you may be asking, how much are we really talking about? The market today values the 1975 no-mint mark Lincoln penny at up to $475,000. That's not a typo. One coin, nearly $500,000. But here's the question you need to ask yourself. Have you ever actually checked? Have you picked up that old coffee can of pennies and really looked at them one by one? Or are you assuming, like everyone else, that they're nothing but scraps of copper and zinc? Because here's the truth most people don't realize. The difference between an ordinary penny and a life-changing fortune can be invisible in a glance. You have to know what you're looking for, so here's your treasure map. Take out your 1975 pennies. Flip them over. Look just below the date. If you see a tiny D or S, it's an ordinary coin. But if there's nothing there, just clean copper staring back at you, you may be holding one of the most valuable pennies on earth. Be careful. Counterfeits exist. Some people try to erase mint marks to fake this rarity. But experts can always tell. The edges, the strike, the wear. Every true no-mint mark penny has a fingerprint of authenticity. If you think you've found one, don't rush to spend it, don't sell it cheap. Get it verified. Get it graded. Because the difference between a counterfeit worth nothing and a genuine piece worth nearly $500,000 is everything. Now imagine this. Tomorrow morning, you sit down with a jar of coins that's been gathering dust for decades. Your fingers move through piles of copper, the sound of history clinking against history. And suddenly, there it is. The date 1975. No mint mark. Your heart stops. In that moment, your entire life could change. That is the power of awareness. The power of knowledge. The power of looking at what everyone else ignores. Most people walk past fortune every single day without knowing it. But not you. Not anymore. Because now you know the secret. Now you have the map. And right now, the 1975 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is worth up to $475,000. A single cent that could set you free. So check your coins. Don't wait. Because treasures this rare don't just belong in books or museums. They belong in the hands of those who dare to look. Imagine this. You reach into your pocket and you feel a single penny. Ordinary copper, dull with age. You almost drop it into a tip jar. But what if I told you that penny could be worth more than your car, more than your house, more than most people make in a lifetime? What if I told you that a tiny coin, struck in 1973 at the Denver Mint, is hiding a secret the government never intended you to know. There's a reason most collectors overlook it. It doesn't glitter like gold, it doesn't shine like silver. It looks like pocket change. But buried in its edges, in its very design, is a flaw, a rare anomaly that transformed a 1-cent coin into a fortune. You see, 1973 was no ordinary year for the Lincoln penny. The mint was caught between old traditions and a new America. They were experimenting, changing presses, pushing out billions of coins. And in the middle of this massive rush, mistakes slipped through. Some pennies came out with double strikes. Others carried misaligned mint marks or faint doubling on the date. And one particular error, so subtle that even bank tellers passed it without notice, has now become one of the most sought-after rarities in modern American coinage. Imagine being the one who notices what everyone else has missed. Picture finding a penny with the D mint mark from Denver, but just slightly misplaced, punched by hand in those days, each one unique, each one carrying a chance for imperfection. Tiny shift, a doubling of the number 3, a ghostly shadow under Lincoln's profile, clues left behind by tired hands and aging machines. And here's the part that sends chills down your spine. In 2015, a man cleaning out his father's drawer discovered one of these 1973 Denver errors. He thought it was worth maybe $1 or $2. But when it hit auction, collectors battled like sharks in bloody water. By the time the hammer fell, that simple penny had climbed into the hundreds of thousands. Now pause and think about this. How many of us have handed one of these away without even looking? How many are still out there, rattling around in jars, tucked in glove compartments, gathering dust in coffee tins? Every day, they're being spent, lost, forgotten, while the lucky few who recognize them walk away with life-changing wealth. So let's bring this mystery into focus. If you have a 1973 penny with a D under the date, hold it under the light. Look closely at the numbers. Is the 3 doubled? Is the mint mark misaligned, like it's sliding just out of place? Does Lincoln's bust look doubled or shadowed? A whisper of another strike? These are the signs. These are the fingerprints of value. But be careful. Counterfeits lurk. Novices rush and sell too quickly. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth $500,000 can be a single faint line, a single overlooked detail. If your heart races when you think you've found one, good. It should. But verify. Get it graded, certified, protected. Never spend it. Never give it away. And here's the truth I want you to carry with you. Wealth doesn't always come wrapped in gold or stacked in $100 bills. Sometimes it hides in plain sight. Sometimes it jingles in your pocket, waiting for the right set of eyes to see it. The American dream isn't always built by banks or corporations. Sometimes it begins with something as small as a penny. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you pass by that old coffee can in the garage, when you pull open that forgotten drawer, don't just glance. Look, study. Because the next fortune might not be locked in a vault. It might be sitting right there in your hand. And right now, one of these rare 1973 Denver pennies is worth up to $325,000. One coin, 1 cent, transformed into a life you could only dream of. Imagine holding a coin so ordinary, so familiar, that millions of Americans once carried it every single day. Now imagine that same coin secretly holding the power to rewrite your entire life. 1 cent that could open the door to wealth, freedom, and a story you'll tell for generations. What if I told you that coin could already be in your home, buried in a jar, resting in a drawer you haven't opened in years? And what if I told you it could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? In 1964, the United States was in turmoil. The nation was grieving Kennedy's assassination, silver was vanishing from circulating coins, and the U.S. Mint was under pressure to pump billions of pennies into the economy. Rushed deadlines, overworked presses, tiny mistakes that no one noticed until now. Out of that chaos came a single penny, struck with a tiny D under the date. The Denver Mint mark. At first glance, just another copper coin. But in reality, a silent key to fortune. Because not all 1964 D pennies are the same. Some hold microscopic flaws, double-stamped dates, misaligned dies, edges that whisper of minting errors so rare, They slipped past the eyes of the mint itself. These errors, overlooked for decades, transformed an ordinary cent into a life-changing treasure. Collectors call them the ghosts of the mint, coins that were never supposed to exist, yet somehow escaped into circulation. And when one of these surfaced at auction, jaws dropped. A coin the size of your fingertip, worth more than most people's homes. The hammer fell at hundreds of thousands of dollars. And whispers began. How many more are out there? How many still lie hidden in boxes, rolls, and piggy banks, mistaken for worthless pocket change? A man in Colorado cashes in his childhood coin jar. But among those brown and worn pennies, one slips through. A rare 1964 error cent that could have changed his life. The bank counts it as 1 cent. He loses everything. That is the tragedy of ignorance. And it's happening every single day. But you are not here to repeat that mistake. You're here to see what others don't. You're here to uncover the truth. So let me tell you exactly what to look for. Take a 1964 penny. Flip it over. Beneath the date, do you see the D? That's your starting point. Look closer. Does the number 4 in the date appear doubled, like a faint shadow beside it? Do the letters in Liberty or I in God We Trust shimmer with duplication? These are the hallmarks of a double die. Another telltale clue is on the reverse, where the Lincoln Memorial lines may blur, shift, or even double. Sometimes, the error hides in plain sight. A tiny crack in the planchet, a mispunched mint mark, an edge that feels just slightly wrong. These flaws transform the penny from 1 cent of copper into a ticket to unimaginable wealth. And here is the urgency. These coins are not theoretical. They exist. Collectors have already pulled them from circulation, sold them at auction, and walked away with life-changing sums. But many are still out there, waiting, hiding, perhaps in your own change, in that dusty box of coins you haven't checked in decades. This is more than a story about a coin. It's about opportunity. It's about how history, chance, and perseverance collide to create moments where an ordinary person can become extraordinary. It's about taking control instead of leaving treasure to slip through your fingers. So tonight, after this video ends, I urge you, no, I beg you, go to your coins. Search them with new eyes. Hold each 1964 penny like it could change everything. Because one of them just might. Right now, this exact 1964 Lincoln penny in its rarest error form is worth up to $664,000. And it could be resting in your hands before the day is over. Imagine this. You reach into your pocket for change, and in your hand lies a single penny. Just 1 cent. You're about to drop it in a jar or maybe spend it without a thought. But what if I told you that same penny could be worth more than the house you live in? What if, hidden inside its copper surface, lies a secret so rare, so unintentional, that it transformed an ordinary coin into a millionaire's ticket? Tonight, I'm going to pull back the curtain on one of the most mysterious treasures in American coinage. The 1971 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Here's the thing most people don't realize. The U.S. Mint never intended to make mistakes. Their job is precision, perfection. But in 1971, something happened that slipped through their fortress of control. Millions of coins were struck, but among them, a few were born with a strange absence. The mark that was supposed to declare where the coin was made vanished, erased, forgotten, a ghost of the process, and that absence turned out to be worth more than gold. Think about it. A single missing letter, a tiny omission smaller than the head of a pin. To most eyes, invisible. To the untrained, worthless. But to the collector who knows what to look for, it's not just an error. It's a signal, a beacon pointing toward fortune. And people have walked past it for 50 years, never knowing. Why does it matter so much? Because mint marks aren't decoration. They're history. They tell us where the coin was born: Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco. They root the coin in place and time. Remove it, and suddenly you've erased its identity. And in that erasure, value is created. Because error is rare, and rare is powerful. There are stories, whispers, really, of collectors who spotted the difference in a pile of pocket change and walked away with a coin now valued in the hundreds of thousands. Imagine the feeling. 1 second, you're holding what everyone else believes is a penny. The next, you're holding a passport to freedom. Debts erased. Dreams funded. Security guaranteed. All because you paid attention to what the rest of the world ignored. Now let me ask you this. How many times have you dumped a handful of coins into a machine at the grocery store without looking? How many drawers, jars, or coffee cans in your home are stuffed with pennies you haven't touched in decades? What if one of them holds the key to a new life? Here's what you need to know. The 1971 penny with no mint mark looks, at first glance, like any other coin from that year. But the secret is in the detail. On most 1971 pennies, you'll see a small D for Denver or an S for San Francisco stamped just below the date. But on this treasure, the space is empty. Clean. Silent. No mint mark at all. That emptiness is what makes it priceless. But be careful. Not every missing mark is the real thing. Some coins lose their stamp through wear or damage. Those are worthless. You need sharpness in the lettering. Clean edges. Authenticity. Only then will the coin whisper its true value. So what does that mean for you? It means right now, sitting in your home, could be a coin worth more than your car. More than your retirement account. More than you've ever dared to imagine. This is not about pennies. This is about possibility. About refusing to overlook the details that others dismiss. Because life-changing opportunities rarely arrive with neon signs. They arrive quietly, in your pocket, in your drawer, waiting for the one person brave enough to see them. So tonight, after this video ends, don't shrug this off as just another story. Go. Search your coins. Examine every 1971 penny you own. Look for the silence where a mint mark should be. Don't trust memory, don't trust assumptions. Trust your eyes. Because right now, that exact coin, the 1971 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, is worth up to $471,000. And it could be sitting in your pocket right now. Imagine this. You're holding a penny so ordinary, so dull, so small, that you'd never think twice about it. You toss it into a jar, slide it across a counter, let it slip through your fingers like dust. But what if I told you that same penny could hold the power to change your life forever? That inside its copper shell lies a secret so overlooked, so explosive, it could turn a single cent into nearly $500,000. The year is 1962. The United States is racing for the stars. John F. Kennedy is in the White House, and somewhere in Denver, a machine inside the U.S. Mint begins stamping pennies, millions of them, rushed, hurried, flawed. No one notices. No one cares. Because who would stop to notice a single penny when there are billions? But one mistake, one tiny error in the rhythm of that Denver minting press, turned a fraction of those pennies into anomalies. Glitches in the matrix. Coins that today, collectors whisper about in hushed tones. Here's the part almost no one knows. Some of those 1962 Denver pennies were struck with double dies, faint but visible doubling on the date, on the letters, on Lincoln's image itself. Others came out with off-center strikes, missing elements, or a faint D mint mark so misplaced it looks like the coin was hiding its true identity. Most were scooped up and spent like nothing. But a handful survived. And when they surface today, they don't just sell, they ignite bidding wars. Picture this. An ordinary man once pulled one of these from his father's coffee can of change. He thought it was just sentimental junk, until a coin dealer leaned closer, squinted, and nearly dropped it. That penny, once forgotten in a dusty jar, became the down payment on a brand new home. That is the kind of power a single coin can carry. But let's pause here. Ask yourself, how many times have you let pennies slip through your fingers, never stopping to look? How many of us are literally walking past fortune disguised as pocket change? What if you've already held one of these life-changing coins and didn't even know it? Now, lean closer, because this is where the treasure map reveals its markings. If you find a 1962 penny with the D mint mark, look carefully. First, the date. Do the numbers look doubled, blurred, like a shadow behind the digits? That's no trick of the light. That's a double die, and collectors will pay thousands for it. Next, the mint mark itself. Is the D stamped off-center, faint, or oddly placed? That's an error coin, and its rarity multiplies its worth. And finally, check the strike. Is Lincoln's profile off-center? Does the rim look incomplete, clipped, or oddly shaped? Those flaws can transform a penny into a prize. This is not just about money. It's about possibility. It's about rediscovering the idea that wealth can hide in plain sight, that treasure is not always buried deep, but waiting in the simplest corners of our lives. It's about hope, about daring to dream, about finding in your pocket what others spend a lifetime chasing. So go. Dig through your drawers, open those old jars, pull out the boxes of change left behind by fathers and grandfathers. Don't dismiss the pennies. Not this time, because history has already proven it. One overlooked coin can open the door to freedom. And here's the truth that leaves even seasoned collectors breathless. Right now, a 1962 Denver penny in rare condition has sold for as much as $354,000. A coin you could find in your own home, worth more than most people make in a decade. So ask yourself, what's in your pocket? Imagine holding a coin in your hand and realizing it could change your life forever. A small copper disc, barely noticed in your wallet, yet it hides a secret almost no one knows. What if I told you that somewhere, right now, a 1960 Lincoln penny with a D mint mark is quietly waiting to transform the future of whoever finds it? And what if that penny could be worth more than your wildest dreams? Hundreds of thousands of dollars in a single instant. Most people see a penny and see nothing. They think it's worthless, a relic of the past. But not this coin. This coin tells a story of ambition, oversight, and the rarest twists of fate. In 1960, the Denver Mint struck a batch of Lincoln pennies unlike any other. Hidden within their copper skin were tiny quirks, errors that collectors today would hunt like treasure seekers chasing a lost map. Imagine a minting machine, relentless, pounding out coins by the thousands. Somewhere along the line, a mistake, almost invisible but undeniable, etched itself into history. A D mint mark slightly off, an anomaly, a whisper from the past. It was a betrayal of expectation, a quiet rebellion against uniformity, and it created a rarity so valuable that decades later, it could turn an ordinary drawer cleaning into a moment of astonishing fortune. Collectors who've held this penny describe a strange electricity, as if the coin hums with possibility. One man found his 1960 D penny in a shoebox at his grandmother's house. He didn't even know what he was holding until he saw the mint mark. That moment, the slow realization that something he'd touched countless times in his life was worth hundreds of thousands, changed him forever. He went from casual collector to sudden millionaire, and all it took was one overlooked piece of history. What if you could be next? What if, right now, among the spare change you dismiss daily, your own fortune is waiting? The thrill isn't just the money, it's the story. Every nick, every scratch on that penny whispers a secret of time, of careful eyes and missed opportunities. This isn't just a coin. It's a portal to a life you've only dreamed about, a tangible key to freedom. Here's the secret no one wants you to know. Spotting the 1960 D penny isn't about luck. It's about awareness. Look closely at the D mint mark. Notice how it sits. Examine the surface for tiny anomalies, subtle doubling, or misalignment. Handle it with care. Don't rush to spend or sell it without knowing exactly what it could be. Even a tiny misstep could cost you the treasure hidden in your own hands. And the most astonishing part? These pennies exist. They survived decades of casual circulation, hidden in jars, drawers, and old coin collections, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. A casual glance could miss it, but the careful, the observant, the believer, those are the ones who find life-changing wealth in something the world dismisses as trivial. Take a moment. Picture yourself holding it, feeling its weight, knowing that something so small could redefine your life. Picture the thrill, the disbelief, the excitement of telling someone, "I found it. This is more than money. It's possibility, freedom, a secret from history gifted to you in a single copper circle." Right now, this exact 1960 D Lincoln penny could be worth up to $460,000, and it could be sitting in someone's pocket at this very moment, waiting for the day a sharp eye and a curious mind unlocks its secret. Imagine holding a penny, a coin so ordinary, so familiar, and yet so dangerously powerful that one mistake at the US Mint turned it into a golden key worth more than most people's homes. And here's the part no one ever told you. That coin could already be sitting inside your dresser drawer, hiding in a jar of loose change, waiting for the one person who actually knows what to look for. The year was 2015. On the surface, just another year in the endless river of Lincoln cents. Billions of them stamped, bagged, and shipped out to banks across America. But somewhere deep in the machinery of the mint, something slipped. Some coins slipped through without a mint mark. A tiny detail, almost invisible to the untrained eye. And yet that tiny absence created one of the most shocking stories in modern coinage. Think about it. The mint mark has always been the signature, the fingerprint of the U.S. Mint. Without it, a coin loses its identity. It's like erasing a birth certificate, like tearing away the very proof of where it came from. Most collectors never noticed because pennies are everywhere. But a handful of sharp-eyed treasure hunters did. They spotted the ghostly blank space where a D or P should have been. And in that moment, a forgotten cent transformed into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Now, let's pause. Ask yourself, how many pennies have you touched in your lifetime? Thousands? Tens of thousands? How many did you toss into a cup holder or slip into a vending machine, never knowing you could have been holding a small fortune? That's the chilling part of this story, because this isn't history locked away in a museum. This is real, right now. Today, one man in Ohio thought he was just cleaning out his garage. A coffee tin rattled with pennies. Most were dull, worthless, scratched from decades of circulation. But buried in the middle, one caught his eye. No mint mark. He thought it was nothing. He nearly spent it on a lottery ticket. But something told him to check twice. That single decision turned an old penny into a payday worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And here's where the story sharpens into focus. The 2015 Lincoln penny with no mint mark isn't just an error. It's a glitch that slipped through the cracks of a system designed to be perfect. A system that almost never admits mistakes. When you find one, you're not just finding a coin. You're holding a piece of a secret the mint never meant for you to see. So what does this treasure really look like?
Imagine anormal 2015 penny.
Lincoln's face sharp and familiar. The date crisp. But as your eyes drift just below it, where there should be a tiny D for Denver or an S for San Francisco, there is nothing. Smooth emptiness. A silence where the signature should have been. That silence is worth a fortune. But don't be fooled. Not every faint mark or scratch makes a coin rare. Many people see damage and think it's gold. That's the trap. The real coin is clean, deliberate, missing its mint mark by design. Not by wear, not by accident. If you find one, you must protect it, encapsulate it, guard it, and above all, never spend it. Now let me ask you, what would it mean if a single penny could rewrite your life? If in the next 5 minutes, as you sifted through the coins in your kitchen drawer, you found a cent that could wipe away debt, buy freedom, and change your family's future? That is the raw, electrifying possibility hiding in plain sight. Because right now, collectors are paying up to $415,000 for this very coin. A penny, just one, waiting for the hand that recognizes its power. So tonight, don't ignore your change. Don't let history slip through your fingers. Somewhere out there, in pockets, jars, and coin rolls, one of these 2015 Lincoln pennies with no mint mark is waiting. Maybe it's waiting for you. And remember this, every time you hold a penny, you're holding a question. Is it ordinary, or is it the key to a fortune? The answer could already be in your hands. Imagine this. You're holding an ordinary penny, copper-colored, familiar, almost invisible in its everydayness. You've probably tossed thousands into jars, vending machines, and grocery store trays without a second thought. But what if I told you that one of these pennies, struck in 2005, could secretly be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? And what if I told you that the only way to recognize it is by what's missing? Here's the secret. In 2005, the United States Mint released billions of Lincoln pennies. They were never supposed to be special, but a small number of them slipped through the cracks of history with something strange. No mint mark, no D for Denver, no P for Philadelphia, nothing at all. Just a blank, naked field where a mark of origin should have stood. Think about that. The very stamp that tells us where a coin was born, gone. Erased. Vanished. The mistake so small it's almost invisible. And yet, that silence on the coin speaks louder than anything else. Because in the world of numismatics, that absence is like a fingerprint. A clue. A glitch in the system that transforms a 1-cent coin into a life-altering fortune. Now picture this. A collector once stumbled across one of these error pennies while sorting loose change on his kitchen table. He thought it was nothing, until a dealer examined it under a jeweler's loupe and offered him more money than he had ever seen laid out in cash in his life. Imagine the shock, the disbelief, the feeling that the universe had just whispered, "Here's your second chance." And that's the power of this coin. It doesn't just represent copper and zinc. It represents possibility. It represents the dream of wealth hidden in the smallest corners of our lives. The kind of discovery that can wipe away debt, fund a child's education, or buy the freedom of early retirement. But here's the catch. Most people will never notice it. They'll spend it at a gas station, hand it over for a pack of gum, or let it sit, buried in a mason jar, for decades. Lost, forgotten, until someone sharper, someone hungrier, someone like you picks it up and realizes the truth. So how do you know if you've got one? Start with the date, 2005. Flip it over. Look closely at Lincoln's chest, at the tiny area under "In God We Trust." That's where the mint mark should sit. If you see nothing, no D, no P, no sign of origin, you may be staring at a piece of history. But don't trust the naked eye alone. Many counterfeits float around, clever fakes meant to trick hopeful collectors. The true test lies in authentication, weight, strike, and microscopic details only visible under magnification. And yet, if it's real, the payoff is staggering. Right now, verified examples of the 2005 Lincoln penny with no mint mark have sold for as high as $425,000. Let that sink in. A coin designed to buy a single gumball, now worth more than most homes in America. So the question becomes, will you ignore this? Will you walk past your own fortune disguised as pocket change? Or will you act? Will you search those jars in your garage, those drawers in your kitchen, those coins you've been carrying every day of your life? Because the truth is simple. Somewhere, right now, this penny is waiting. Waiting in a pocket, in a purse, in a dusty coffee can filled with loose change. Waiting for the person bold enough to see what others overlook. Don't let it pass you by. Don't let another day slip away. The next time you feel that little 1-cent coin resting in your palm, remember this moment. Remember this secret. And look again. Because right now, a 2005 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is worth up to $425,000. And it could be sitting in your hand, this very moment. Imagine holding a penny so ordinary, so unremarkable, that you wouldn't think twice before dropping it into a tip jar. Now imagine that same penny carrying a secret so dangerous, so rare, that it could rewrite the story of your life forever. This is not fiction. It's the tale of a 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. And the truth about it has been hidden in plain sight for nearly 3 decades. Why would the mint allow a coin like this to exist? Why would they release something flawed, something unfinished, into the hands of the public? Was it an accident, or was it something else? The answer begins in 1994, a year when the U.S. Mint was under intense pressure. Billions of coins needed to be struck, machines working around the clock, human eyes failing to catch the smallest mistakes. Somewhere in that chaos, a handful of Lincoln cents slipped through without their identifying mint mark. The tiny letter that reveals where the coin was born at first glance. It looks like every other penny. Copper-plated zinc. Lincoln's familiar profile. But look closer and the mint mark is gone. Erased. Missing. A detail so small most people never notice. And yet, this absence transforms it from pocket change into a treasure map. Collectors whisper about it because these coins weren't supposed to escape. They weren't supposed to exist. Each one that did is now a ghost from the mint's own hidden mistakes. And when collectors discover one, the bidding wars erupt like wildfire. But here's where the story twists. Some claim the missing mint mark was no accident at all, that in the rush of production, dies were swapped, errors overlooked, and records conveniently lost. A betrayal by the very system that promised perfection. And now, decades later, it's you, not the mint, who holds the power to uncover what slipped through their fingers. Think about it. How many times have you brushed past a penny, dismissing it as worthless? How many times has one sat in a drawer, in an old coffee can, in a forgotten piggy bank? That quiet little coin could be the key to freedom, and you might already own it. So what makes it so valuable? It's the sheer improbability. Billions of 1994 pennies were struck. Yet only a scarce few without mint marks are known. And in a world where rarity drives value, scarcity is gold. A single discovery can send shockwaves through auctions, climbing into six figures, shattering expectations. But here's the danger. Most people will spend these coins without ever realizing it. A cashier will pocket it, a machine will eat it, and another treasure will vanish forever. That's why you must know exactly what to look for. So let me arm you with the truth. Take a 1994 penny, turn it under the light. Just below the date, you should see a mint mark, a tiny D for Denver, a P for Philadelphia. If it's not there, if the space is blank, hold on tight. Examine carefully, because counterfeiters will try to fool you. But the real ones have subtle tells. The sharpness of the strike, the natural wear, the weight unchanged. If you find one, do not spend it. Do not toss it aside. Protect it, authenticate it, and prepare yourself for what comes next. Because right now, the market value of a 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark has soared as high as $494,000. And somewhere, perhaps in your home, in your change jar, or even in your pocket, that $500,000 secret could be waiting for you to notice. Time is the enemy here. Every day, another one may vanish, lost to carelessness. Don't let it be yours. Check your coins tonight, because the mint's mistake could be your miracle. And if you're wondering whether it's really possible that you, an ordinary person, could stumble on such a treasure, remember this. Every millionaire who struck gold with a coin like this started as someone who simply bothered to look. Your story could be next. Imagine this. You hand over a penny at the grocery store. A coin so ordinary, so insignificant, you don't even look at it. But what if that single cent was not worth 1 cent at all? What if it was worth enough to wipe out your debts, buy your freedom, and change the course of your family's future forever? Now here's the secret. In 1988, deep inside the US Mint, something slipped through the cracks. A mistake so small, so invisible, that even trained eyes ignored it for years. It was hidden in plain sight, tucked inside a sea of ordinary copper-plated pennies. But a handful, just a handful, came out different. A 1988 Lincoln cent, with no mint mark at all. Why does that matter? Because every coin tells a story of where it was born. A little letter stamped beneath the year, D for Denver, P for Philadelphia, S for San Francisco. It's a fingerprint, a signature of its origin. But imagine a coin stripped of its identity. A penny that was supposed to declare where it came from, but instead says nothing. Silent, anonymous. That silence, that absence, that's what makes it worth more than gold. Collectors didn't notice at first. For years these coins passed from hand to hand, buying candy, paying bus fares, sliding into jars on kitchen tables. Then one day someone looked closer. They saw the date, 1988, and then they saw nothing. No mint mark. And in that instant, they realized they were holding not just a coin, but a treasure. Here's the part most people never hear. Some believe this wasn't just an accident. Some whisper that it was the mint's oversight, a machine left unchecked, a die reused when it should have been destroyed. Whatever the truth, it left behind a coin so rare, so elusive, that entire collections have been built around the hunt for it. Now think about this. How many times have you dumped out a coin jar? How many times have you let pennies slip through your fingers without even glancing at the year? What if the one you tossed into a tip jar last week could have been the key to a brand new life? This is where it gets truly dangerous. Most people who find these coins don't even know what they're looking at. They sell them off in bulk. They spend them. They let them vanish into circulation again. And yet a single 1988 no-mint mark penny has commanded staggering sums, up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Right now, its market value hovers around an earth-shaking $300,000 and rising. So how do you know if you've got one? It's simple, but you must be precise. First, find a 1988 penny. Hold it to the light. Beneath the date, there should be a letter. If you see nothing, no D, no P, no S, you may have struck gold. But beware. There are fakes, scratched coins, altered ones. That's where careful eyes and expert verification matter. If you believe you've found one, don't rush to sell. Don't toss it online for a quick bid. Get it graded. Get it certified. Because once it's authenticated, you hold in your hands not a penny, but a fortune. Picture this. A coin that could change everything lying in the bottom of your drawer, waiting. A penny that looks worthless, but carries the weight of a house, a retirement, a dream. And the only difference between finding it and losing it forever is whether you take the time to look. Right now, somewhere in America, this exact penny could be sitting in a pocket, forgotten, worth up to $300,000. And it might just be yours. Imagine this. You're holding a single penny. It looks ordinary, maybe even worthless. But hidden in that small circle of copper is a secret so rare, so powerful, it could rewrite your financial destiny overnight. This is the 1985 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. And almost no one alive knows the truth about it. Now, here's the question that should make your heart race. What if the next coin you pull from a dusty jar, a forgotten drawer, or even loose change at the grocery store isn't just 1 cent, but a key to wealth most people only dream of? The story of this coin begins with a mistake, a human error at the U.S. Mint, the very institution sworn to perfection. In 1985, countless pennies rolled off the presses. But somewhere, buried in that ocean of copper-plated zinc, a batch slipped through with no mint mark. No tiny D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Not even the silent P of Philadelphia. Just blank space. Nothing. It was as if the mint itself had decided, in that moment, to erase its own fingerprint, to leave behind a ghost. And for the few who noticed, that absence became a clue. A treasure map hiding in plain sight. Collectors whispered. Dealers argued. Some laughed it off, calling it just another penny. But then someone sold one. Not for $1, not for 100, but for thousands. And suddenly the truth couldn't be ignored. The 1985 no-mint mark penny wasn't just an error. It was a miracle. Pause for a moment. Picture the weight of that. A single coin, almost invisible in value, transformed into something people would fight to own. The kind of coin that doesn't just buy groceries but pays mortgages. The kind that doesn't just sit in your pocket but sets you free. And yet, here's the dangerous part. Most people will spend it without ever knowing. They'll let it slide through their fingers at a gas station, a diner, or a vending machine, never realizing they just traded away a fortune for a pack of gum. That is the tragedy. And that is why you need to know the signs. So how do you spot it? First, the obvious no mint mark under the date. But don't stop there. Condition is everything. The sharper the detail, the brighter the luster, the closer you are to the upper stratosphere of value. Worn-out coins might fetch hundreds, but crisp, uncirculated survivors? Those are the holy grail. Now let's reset the stage. Imagine you find one. Your hands shake, your pulse climbs. But here's the catch, you can't just rush to any buyer. Many people have lost fortunes by trusting the wrong dealer, the wrong appraisal, the wrong moment to sell. If you truly want to unlock the coin's potential, patience and knowledge are your allies. Because here's the truth no one wants you to know. This penny, this forgotten 1985 misprint, has crossed the auction block for value so high, it feels unreal. Right now, in pristine condition, it can reach up to $485,000. $500,000. From 1 cent. Stop and think about that. Somewhere in America, in a shoebox, in a childhood collection, or rattling inside a jar of spare change, a life-changing fortune is waiting. And it doesn't belong to Wall Street. It doesn't belong to the elite. It belongs to whoever has the eyes to see it. So here's my challenge. Tonight, after this video, don't just walk past that jar of coins. Don't dismiss the pennies in your pocket. Hold them up to the light. Look carefully. Search for the blank space where a mint mark should be. Because one day, one coin could change everything. And when it does, when you finally find it, you'll remember this moment. The secret you learned, the choice you made, and the penny that turned into freedom. The 1985 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Right now, this exact coin is worth up to $485,000, and it could be sitting in your hand this very moment. Imagine reaching into your pocket for a penny and unknowingly holding a key worth more than a luxury home that looks ordinary, copper shining dully under the light. But hidden within that tiny circle of metal lies a secret the US Mint never wanted you to notice. A secret that could rewrite the story of your life. The year is 1980. America is restless. Inflation is climbing. Families are stretching every dollar. And in the middle of that economic storm, a small, quiet error slips past the watchful eyes of the mint. A coin so deceptively common that tens of millions flowed into circulation. Yet only a handful carry the whisper of a mistake so rare it transforms them into treasure. The 1980 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. Now, you might be thinking everyday pennies don't carry mint marks, right? But here's where the mystery begins. In 1980, something changed. For the first time, every single coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint was supposed to bear its mark. A small but proud P. The government wanted it there. The records demand it. But fate has a way of leaving cracks in even the most rigid systems. And into that crack slipped an anomaly. A coin with no mark at all. Think about what that means. You're staring at a coin that defies its own birth certificate. A coin that says to history, I wasn't supposed to exist. For decades, most people never noticed. They spent it. They dropped it into vending machines. It rolled under couches. It jingled in jars. But a few sharp-eyed collectors saw something strange, and they never let it go. One man, back in the late 90s, told the story of cashing out an old coffee can of change. Inside, he spotted a penny that felt different. He couldn't say why at first, the color, the weight, the way the numbers looked sharper. But then he saw it. No mint mark where there should have been one. He almost spent it. Instead, he set it aside. That decision changed the course of his family's wealth. And here's the part most people don't understand. Rarity doesn't live in the number of coins minted. It lives in mistakes, in deviations, in the scars of imperfection. This penny is living proof. Now let me ask you, what would you do if tomorrow you opened your grandmother's old coin purse and found one of these? Would you even know what you're holding? Or would you let it slip through your fingers like countless others already have? Pause for a moment. Imagine the feeling, the heartbeat quickening, that rush when you realize the tiny disc in your palm isn't worth 1 cent. It's worth the kind of money that erases debt, secures futures, and unlocks freedom. But here's the truth, and it's the part that hurts. Every day, ordinary Americans unknowingly spend these coins. They go unnoticed in grocery store change, in forgotten piggy banks, in dusty dresser drawers. And the person who lets it slip away never even knows what they lost. So how do you make sure that person isn't you? First, you need to train your eye. Hold the penny up to the light. Look beneath the date, 1980. If it's from Philadelphia, you should see a P. But when the mark is missing, when that space is blank, you've entered the world of the extraordinary. Second, don't be fooled by counterfeits. Some will scratch off mint marks to mimic the error, but real ones carry sharp, crisp details. They feel whole, untouched, authentic. And finally, understand this: condition is everything. A coin barely worn, sharp in detail, glowing with its original luster, that's the kind of specimen collectors will battle for at auction. Right now, verified examples of the 1980 no-mint mark penny have reached values soaring into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. 1 cent transformed into up to 480,000. Think about that for a moment. Someone could be sitting on a fortune, hidden in plain sight, disguised as a penny tossed into a gas station tip jar. This is more than just money. It's a reminder that history hides itself in the smallest corners of our lives, that treasures aren't always locked in vaults or buried in the ground. Sometimes, they're jingling in our pockets, waiting for someone with courage and curiosity to see them for what they are. So tonight, when you pour out the coins from your wallet, pause. Look closer. That 1 penny might not just change your day, it might change your destiny. Because somewhere in America, right now, the rarest of them all still sits unnoticed, waiting to be found. And when it is, it will rewrite someone's story forever. The 1980 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, worth up to $480,000. And it could be hiding in your pocket at this very moment. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a penny so ordinary, so forgettable, that you almost toss it into a coin jar without a second thought. But what if that tiny, copper coin wasn't ordinary at all? What if that single penny, dated 1979, with a small D below Lincoln's chest, could be the key to rewriting your entire financial story? This isn't just about money. This is about hidden history, about the secrets the mint never told you, and the life-changing discoveries people overlook every single day. Back in 1979, the world was restless. Inflation was climbing, the dollar was weakening, and the U.S. Mint was under pressure to produce billions of coins to keep up with demand. Denver, the D Mint, was cranking out Lincoln pennies at a frantic pace. But under that rush, mistakes were made. Tiny, almost invisible errors slipped into circulation. To most, they were just flaws. But to the few who noticed, they were treasure. Picture this. A collector buys an old coffee can full of pennies at a garage sale. Dusty, forgotten, unremarkable. Hours later, under the harsh light of a magnifier, he notices something odd. A doubling on the date, or a mint mark punched at a strange angle. His hands tremble as he realizes he's not staring at 1 cent. He's staring at hundreds of thousands of dollars. It almost feels unfair. The mint intended to stamp out billions of identical pennies, coins worth less than the paper they bought candy with in the 70s. But fate had other plans. A few slipped through the cracks. Imperfect, scarred, rare. And those rare survivors are now worth more than most people's homes. What makes these coins so special? Some 1979 D pennies carry dramatic doubling, where Lincoln's profile seems to echo against itself. Others show mint marks that shouldn't exist, repunched by human hands trying to correct an error. And a few are struck so off-center they look like an artist's experiment, each one a one-of-a-kind creation. These are not just coins. They are fingerprints of history. Let me ask you something. How many times have you glanced at your change, convinced it's just loose copper and zinc? How many times have you let opportunity pass right through your fingers? What if, right now, one of those 1979 D rarities is sitting in a drawer in your home, waiting for you to notice? The truth is, people throw away wealth every single day. They sell their old coin jars at yard sales, hand pennies to their kids for gumball machines, and never realize that a mistake worth hundreds of thousands just slipped back into circulation. Here's the secret that separates the lucky from the wealthy: knowledge. If you know what to look for, you'll never let fortune escape. So here's how to spot it. First, check the date. 1979 with a D mint mark below Lincoln's shoulder. Then, examine the details under good light. Is the date doubled? Does the mint mark look like it was punched twice? Does the design look off-center, as if the coin were shifted during striking? Any of these signs could mean you're holding a treasure. And don't make the mistake so many people make. Don't clean it, don't polish it, don't try to make it shine. Collectors value authenticity, not sparkle. A coin that looks dull but original is worth infinitely more than one that's been scrubbed. Now, here's the part that might change your life forever. One of these rare 1979 D pennies has sold for as much as $445,000. Imagine that. A penny that could buy you a home, wipe away your debts, or finally give you the freedom you've been chasing your entire life. So tonight, when you get home, Don't just toss your change onto the counter. Look closely. Hold those pennies up to the light. Because somewhere out there, hiding in plain sight, is a coin that could turn the smallest denomination in America into the greatest discovery of your life. And remember this final truth. Right now, a 1979 D. Lincoln penny is worth up to $445,000, and it could be sitting in your pocket at this very moment. Imagine holding in your hand the tiniest piece of copper, a coin so ordinary you'd pass it over without a second thought. Now imagine that very coin holding the power to shatter the limits of your life, to turn a single penny into the kind of wealth people spend decades chasing. Tonight, we step into the shadows of American history, where one overlooked coin, struck in 1978 at the Denver Mint, hides a secret that only a handful of people have ever uncovered. Most people think of 1978 as just another year, another penny. The truth? That year the Mint made a mistake. A mistake so subtle that even trained eyes miss it. A slip in the machines, a strike too hard, a detail too soft. Tiny errors so small that they look like nothing, until you know exactly what you're searching for. And once you know, you'll never look at your change the same way again. Think about this. Millions of these coins poured out of the Denver Mint. They landed in cash registers, pockets, coffee cans, junk drawers. Ordinary Americans carried them to the store, spent them on candy, left them at the bottom of mason jars. But scattered among those millions are imposters. Coins with double dates, distorted lettering, and strikes so strange they should have been caught. But they slipped through. And now, decades later, they're the survivors, each one a silent lottery ticket. Pause here for just a moment. What if the very penny you tossed aside years ago, the one buried in a cigar box in your father's attic, is worth not 1 cent, but the down payment on your dream house? Wouldn't you want to know before someone else discovered it? Here's the part that almost no one talks about. The 1978 D. Lincoln penny has a handful of rare varieties. Double dies that warp the date like a mirage, repunched mint marks where the D looks like it's echoing itself, and off-center strikes that leave Lincoln's face creeping into the rim. These are the errors that collectors fight over. And when the condition is pristine, untouched, sparkling red after 40 years, the bidding wars are fierce. One collector bought a roll of pennies at a flea market for a few dollars. Hidden inside was a near-perfect 1978 D with a double die reverse. He sent it to auction, and when the hammer fell, that penny, that single cent, was valued at hundreds of thousands of dollars. From pocket change to life-changing fortune in an instant. That isn't a fairy tale. It happened. But here's the terrifying truth. Most people who find one of these coins don't even know what they're holding. They spend it. They trade it away for gum. They let it vanish back into circulation. And with every lost coin, the survivors become rarer, their value rising higher. The window is closing, but not yet shut. So what should you be looking for? Pull out your 1978 D pennies and hold them under a bright light. Look closely at the date. If the numbers seem doubled, if they shimmer strangely when tilted, you may have found a double die. Check the mint mark, the tiny D. If it looks doubled, shifted, or repunched, you may have struck gold. Flip the coin. If Lincoln's memorial on the back looks doubled, distorted, or blurred, your penny could be one of the few that collectors would pay a fortune to own. Here's the warning. Condition matters. A scratched coin is still valuable, but the ones that shine, the flawless, untouched gems, that's where the life-changing numbers come in. Think about what this really means. You don't need a metal detector. You don't need to mine for gold. The treasure might already be in your pocket, waiting, disguised as a coin so common no one else would look twice. Right now, in pristine condition with the right errors, the 1978 D. Lincoln penny has sold for staggering amounts, up to $350,000. Imagine that. A single penny that could pay off your mortgage, cover your child's college, or fund the life you've been dreaming of. So don't wait. Don't dismiss the coins you already own. Tonight could be the night you change everything. Somewhere out there, tucked in a drawer, hidden in a jar, resting at the bottom of a